Buckle in, sports fans. You're listening to The William Haynes Show. The program will be starting in just a couple of minutes, so grab your popcorn and get ready to enjoy the show. While you're waiting, make sure you're following us on social media at WHBC Stream and staying tuned to WHBCStream.com. We're so glad to have you today on the program, and we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line on Twitter or call the show 352-639-0036. And thanks again for tuning in.
HBC. Well, it is a good evening to you and Tayaby. William Haynes here, you there, here on this Monday night, a Labor Day show edition of the William Haynes Show at 8:54 with 35 seconds to go right along with it. Perfect timing. We will be with you up until about 10 o'clock, a 1-hour program. Lots to discuss. Of course, we were off for a 3-day weekend, so we have a weekend's worth of Tampa Bay Rays versus Miami Marlins. The Rays took two games of that 3-game set, so that was good to see. Also tonight we have Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the New York Islanders. The Tampa Bay Lightning, after an incredibly hot start, lead the Islanders 3-1. They are in the intermission following the first period, so of course we'll keep our eyes on that. And football season, really, folks, is upon us. It kind of snuck up on me, I'm sure, for other football fans that we have listening to the program. We have on the monitor here Navy and BYU in Annapolis, Maryland. Of course, the home stadium for Navy. It's completely empty. It's totally a weird sight to see. The BYU, the Cougars, are up 14-0, I believe, still in the first period. So in the first period, I got all the sports mixed up. It's all happening. So in the first quarter, I should say. So we'll keep our eyes on that. So yeah, this show will include probably some more football talk coming up. Of course, Thursday night, the first game of the NFL season between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Houston Texans. The Bucs will be playing on Sunday afternoon, so we'll kind of start transitioning more, including some more football programming. But I respect that a lot of the listener base of the William Haynes Show is looking for Tampa Bay Rays coverage, and I will oblige, of course, for the remainder of the Rays season, as that's certainly a hot topic. They lose to the Washington Nationals 6-1. The Nationals dead last in the NL East. They have improved to 15-25. The Rays dropped to 28-14 in the sixth inning. It's the Yankees at 5-2 over the Blue Jays. So it looks like the Yankees will hop back into second place. As it stands right now, the Tampa Bay Rays are a clean 5 games up on what is now the second-place team, Toronto Blue Jays. So we'll keep our eye on that. Of course, if you're not familiar with the program, 2020 sports updates about every 20 minutes or so. We're going to hit one in 4 minutes at 9 o'clock just to allow maybe some callers to flow in and give you some score updates and all of that. So we'll hit it all at once. We'll give you the baseball. Obviously, we'll give you an update on whatever the college football game is, and then there's an NBA game, and of course the Tampa Bay Lightning. So we'll put it all into one sports break. Again, number to call the show. I can't believe it's taking me this long to get it out. It is 877-566-1020, internationally toll free. I'll give it to you one more time just to make up for it. 877 566-1020 at WHBC Stream is the Twitter if you'd like to drop us a line on there. And of course, we would appreciate any way you want to reach out to the show if you have any interest in doing so. We'll be taking your calls up until about 10 o'clock. Again, a break in about 3 minutes. We'll lead the show talking about tonight's Rays loss and then transition into my thoughts on the Rays weekend series against the Miami Marlins after that. And then we'll kind of transition into some other sports. BYU looks like they're going to be in the red zone again after the first play from scrimmage from the second quarter, so it looks like they may be up 3 touchdowns by the time this drive is done. So Navy, obviously not off to a hot start. I'm not sure where they're projected to be in the American. I don't know too much about BYU either. Obviously, last year they went into Knoxville and knocked off the Tennessee Volunteers, and then also I believe they had a home win against USC, so a team that was pretty good a season ago, but I think they did lose some pieces, but here they are, if I'm not mistaken, an independent this year, but they may have joined a conference up 14-0 and within the red zone against the Navy Midshipmen in an interesting Monday night, Labor Day, as they always play college football on Labor Day night. So again, I know so much to talk about again. As far as programming updates, the Rays will play the Nationals tomorrow at 6 o'clock, so I'll be on the air after that game. Of course, it will be Ryan Yarbrough going up against Anibal Sanchez. Yarbrough's first game off the IL. We'll preview that game as the show wraps. Also, we have the Rays are off on Wednesday night, so if we're not going to be talking much Rays. If there are some topics to discuss, we'll bring it up. But I'm thinking maybe spend that time to preview some NFL and some college football stuff. Of course, I'm going to be rolling out some Florida State sports programming soon. It's not going to be affiliated with this show. I guess I should take a little bit of time explaining that. So I'll just get it out here now, and then after the break, we'll talk about tonight's Rays loss. The William Haynes Show, it will be focused still on Tampa Bay sports. Obviously, we're going to be really Rays focused, as I know that's where a lot of our listeners are interested in hearing. We'll stay with that. We're going to try and get some more Lightning talk. Hockey is not necessarily one of my good sports, but I do have some people that I can have on the show to discuss some hockey, and I'll be watching the Lightning playoff games. Of course, this Eastern Conference Finals against the Islanders will be a dandy. So maybe their potential run to the Stanley Cup Final is BYU now officially up 21-0 on Navy early in the second quarter. And then, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers football really is my best sport that I'm best at talking about. So, of course, we'll go with the Bucs coverage as well. But I would imagine we'll dabble in maybe during the weekdays, but it's really going to be previewing games probably on Friday and then recapping the previous week's game on a Monday, and then pretty much every night after that we'll still be focused on Tampa Bay Rays coverage up until obviously the season end in September, and it's pretty much locked up. They haven't officially secured it yet, but this baseball team will be playing playoff baseball in the month of October, so we'll be carrying that coverage as far as the Rays can go. With that being said, I know it kind of stretched out a bit of a monologue unintentionally, but really so much to talk about this month of September, and as well the month of October is going to be so wild as far as sports is concerned, and I'm glad for everyone that's tuned into the show tonight to be a part of it, and hope that you continue to listen in the future. It's always great to have people be a part of the program, and if you would like to be one of those lucky folks tonight to get on the William Haynes Show, the number to call is 877-566-1020 at WHBC Stream is a Twitter. At 9 o'clock sharp, we're going to take a 2020 sports update, give you the basketball, the hockey, the baseball scores, take a short break, and then we'll come back and talk Rays. HBC. Just one game in NBA action tonight with under a minute left to go in the fourth quarter. It's the Celtics up 111-87 on the Raptors, so that will surely go final. That will make the Celtics up 3-2 in that series, pushing the Raptors to the brink. And tipping off in a few minutes or so, it'll be the Clippers and Nuggets in Game 3. That series is tied 1 game apiece. Obviously, in hockey, it is the Lightning up 3-1 after the first period against the New York Islanders. No game after that until Tuesday, where it's Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. It is the Golden Knights and the Stars. Dallas leads that series 1-0. We're going to take a short break, and we'll come right back again. Number to call, 877-566-1020.
Hey, sports fans! William's currently in the can, but he'll be right back. We're currently on a commercial break, so don't touch that dial. Remember, you can call us at 639-0036 or drop us a line on Twitter at WHBC Stream to tell us what's on your mind. We want to talk sports. We want to get unruly. We want you to tell us what you think so we can argue. Anyway, when all that's said and done, please stay tuned for William's world-famous Around the XFL podcast and other projects that he's currently got in the works. Please visit WHBCstream.com, and thanks again for listening in.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM. Sports Radio 636. Sports Radio
HBC. And at 9:03, we are back on the William Haynes Show. We'll be talking tonight's Rays 6-1 loss at the hands of the Washington Nationals. As we do that, and you'd like to get on the air and talk Rays, we'll be taking calls up until 10 o'clock. The number to call to get on the show is 877-566-1020 at WHBC Stream is the Twitter. So not really too much of an entertaining game. To be completely honest with you, is Charlie Morton going up against Max Scherzer. So really in the books, it looks like a good kind of pitcher's duel. Charlie Morton, his second start coming off the IL. He went 2 innings plus in his first start off the IL about 5 days ago against the New York Yankees. And, you know, the going into tonight's game, it was thinking maybe get him through 4 innings or about 50 pitches, kind of whatever comes first, and maybe get him an up in the 5th inning, if you will. The meaning of that is, as far as an up is, you don't have to complete the 5th inning, but just to get through that routine as he tries to get stretched back out of sitting on the bench during the bottom of the 4th, and then coming back out to start a 5th inning to kind of get that length without having to pitch an entire inning. But he ends up working a really quick 5th, and he gets through 5 in just 57 pitches. So the efficiency was obviously there. The first pitch strikes, he had faced 20 batters and threw a first pitch strike to 18 of those batters. So that's a stat that we always point to being so crucial. I know Snell had a couple of offers, which is incredible that you can face 25 or 30 batters and not throw a first pitch strike. And that was really the key to Morton, his success tonight. He does end up taking the loss, but I don't really think that means anything. If you want to ask me what my takeaways for tonight's contest is, I mean, it looks like the Rays are pretty much a lock to make the playoffs. I know a joke was made of it. An AP writer, of course, it was an AP writer, not like a Rays or a national journalist, had to ask him a question that, the ESPN has the Rays playoff chances at 100%. And, of course, Kevin Cash got to chuckle and make a snide remark, basically saying, it's not over until, until clinching night, and, that's all good and fine. But this team will make the playoffs. I think in order to miss, they would have to probably lose every single game, and a lot of other stuff would have to happen. I mean, they are 14 games above 500. The best record, I believe, still in the American League. And it looks like even if they falter a little bit down the stretch, I think they still have a pretty good chance of winning the American League East. So as far as winning or losing right now, obviously, we kind of, us Rays fans, we watch the games every night and we pay close attention. But I think as we come down the stretch, and I'll keep reminding you of this, of course, I mean, we're now through the first week of September, so we're down to the final 3 weeks, basically, of the regular season. For me, what I'm looking for, I want to see the bullpen come back healthy and continue to look strong. So what I mean by that, there's a couple of guys still on the injured list. Oliver Drake and I believe Jose Alvarado are the main ones that are going to be eligible to come back at some point this year. Oliver Drake looks really close to coming back. I hadn't realized this. He's listed as a biceps, but I hadn't picked up on it for whatever reason. Basically, they've kept him on there just because he really has not just been physically able to perform. He just, whether it was he couldn't get started during summer camp or what, it's not necessarily an injury. Oliver Drake is really just having to work through some stuff and get ready to face major league hitters. I mean, he was such a, not such a crucial part of the bullpen, but he's a righty that can get righties and lefties out. Not a super good fastball, I think low 90s or so. I think he can touch mid 90s, but he's got a really good splitter. That's his main pitch, and that produces a lot of ground balls. And obviously, when you have a reliever in high leverage spot, potentially with men on base, you want to get the ball on the ground, and that's something that Oliver Drake does so well. And I think certainly a guy that they've missed. I think maybe if you had to pick one that's kind of taken his spot, Ryan Thompson. I believe Thompson this year has come on with a total of 8 inherited runners, and he's allowed none of them to score. He gets a lot of ground balls with the sidearm action. So to get Oliver Drake back in that mix, I'm not sure exactly who they would send down. I guess I'm going on a little bit of a footnote already. Cody Reed had a bit of a pinky issue over the weekend, but it doesn't look like that's going to be an injury list stint. If I had to guess when Oliver Drake comes back, could get sent down. Either Aaron Loop is going to be hard to send down because he's a lefty, and the Rays don't have many of those at all. So maybe John Curtis, although he's looked good. So I mean, that's the thing is the Rays. The bullpen has really looked good, kind of with the quote unquote no names, at least going into the season. I mean, guys we had no idea were Aaron Slegers, Ryan Thompson, John Curtis. Even Aaron Loop to an extent. Cody Reed, a guy that we picked up prior to the trade deadline. He's a lefty, kind of a power thrower. So it'll be crucial for Cody Reed, hopefully, to be healthy. So I don't know. I guess he probably won't be available. I think it's a blister or so, of something of that sort on the pinky of the throwing hand. So obviously that was something Chaz Rowe missed some time with in summer camp. So that can be a little bit of a nagging injury, but I don't know. So Jose Alvarado, it doesn't. I believe it's a left shoulder issue, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, that's something that the Rays have been kind of reluctant to kind of comment on, and I basically take that as he's not progressing well. He's a guy, and I've covered this extensively, that had trouble with injuries last year. He missed some time for personal reasons to go back home to Venezuela, and then when he came back, I believe it was an oblique strain, and then he rehabbed that, and then he came back off of that injury, and then just couldn't get anyone out. I believe that was in Cleveland, if I want to say that was at the end of July, if I'm remembering that correctly, and they shut him down for the rest of the year. So Alvarado, certainly, I mean, they really haven't had him at his best since probably 2018, or maybe as late as May of 2019, I would say April or May. But Jose Alvarado has not been that guy. He was supposed to be the best left-handed reliever in this bullpen, and that has really not been the case, and the Rays have had to adjust accordingly, obviously picking some guys up, Aaron Loop, and now Cody Reed, that can throw from the left side. So again, to make as Steve Summers always says, to make a long story even longer, as I always tend to do here. Not so much about wins and losses here. They lose tonight, and it never feels great when your team loses. I would say the hitting has really been in a slump, and it has been that way for a long time. I think kind of just disguised under a good, not a winning streak, but they I believe they were like 21-9 in the month of August or something crazy like that. So they were winning, pretty much day in and day out, despite kind of some flaws on the team. The starting rotation has been in and out as far as injuries. The bullpen, I would say, has pretty much been a strength, but they've been missing their kind of A-name guys that they went into the season with. And, of course, as I said, the hitting has really struggled tonight. I'll give you one example tonight. Austin Meadows, 0 for 4 tonight, in the leadoff spot. He led off for the first time in quite a while. His average is now down at 212. He's in a slump. He's not seeing the ball well. Brandon Lau, another guy who broke an 0 for 22 and had a walk-off sac fly on Sunday, but his average is now down at 250. I'm not going to go all the way down the list, but we have some guys below the Mendoza line, some guys threatening that kind of mark. And again, to the tune of 1 run. They don't get any runs against Max Scherzer in 7 innings. And I guess now we'll, officially kind of transition it. I guess I've just been kind of avoiding talking about this game because it certainly wasn't too interesting. Again, number to call. If we have anybody listening, you watch the game, you want to get some stuff about it off your chest, number to call, 877-566-1020. The way the Rays lined up defensively to start the game, although they did make some moves throughout the contest, it was Austin Meadows in left, Kiermaier in center, Brandon Lau in right field. In the infield from left to right, it was Yoshi Tsutsugo at third base, Adames at short, Wendell at second. At first base, it was G-Man Choi. Kevin Smith did the catching, and it was Charlie Morton, the starting pitcher. Also, Nate Lowe was the DH. Kevin Smith, I just wanted to get this out there. I know I believe I'd mentioned him as a left-handed bat at the catcher position. He is actually a righty bat. I don't know why it was that I messed that up, but I wanted to make that correction for you there. And also, just another thing now that I think about it, I was not on the air Friday, and on Thursday's show, I had mentioned that I was going to be off Friday, but I later found out that the mic, for whatever reason, for about the final 15 or 20 minutes of Thursday's program had cut out. So if we had anybody listening and all of a sudden my voice just went dark for, the final 20 minutes of the program, I apologize for that. And of course, if you had missed that I was going to be off Friday, I know I had some people looking for the show. So just wanted to make that mend. The way the lineup was structured tonight, it was Austin Meadows again, as I said, leading off for the first time in a while, followed by Lau and Wendell. Choi cleaned up. It was Adames and Setsugo, and a bottom three of Kiermaier, Lowe, and Smith. And as far as standing out, Kiermaier went 2 for 3. He had a double. Wendell had a couple of knocks, 2 hits there. And a couple of guys with 1 hit, but a lot of offers, meaning, Meadows 0 for 4, Choi 0 for 4. Adames and Setsuga both 0 for 4. So some guys certainly are struggling. Willie, who's been really the best hitter for the Rays over maybe the last week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, he has cooled off over the last couple of days. His average is now down to 292. An 0 for 4 night with 3 strikeouts. He really just was overpowered by Max Scherzer tonight. Swinging through fastballs, chasing the off speed. Kind of when Willie is at his worst, it's that kind of stuff. Just really does not have command of the strike zone, will go after anything, and then can't really connect on fastballs, can't catch up to them. So he's going to have to get that figured out, as well as some of these other guys. And I'll just make this note now. I'll probably mention it again later. I believe it was in the 6th or 7th inning when the Rays were getting pretty much blown out. Brandon Lau and Kevin Kiermaier came out of the game. Lau was replaced with Arozarena, which was good to get him in the game and get him a couple of at-bats. He went 1 for 2, and then Kiermaier came out of the game. It was Brett Phillips, I believe, making his debut in center field. Someone I had mentioned when they traded for him as what I believe to be the eventual replacement of Kevin Kiermaier, that is Brett Phillips. Kevin Kiermaier with a miscue in center field. A lot of... I know he always kind of, misses plays that maybe he could make, but it seems this year more than any other year in years past, those kind of plays, plus plays that he goes after and seeks, he makes diving plays and the ball just can't find the glove. And instead of just, playing it off a bounce and holding the guy to a single, he's making a dive to try and get the out, but instead the ball trickles past him, and it's a double, a triple, and we've seen it once this year, an inside the park home run off of a Kiermaier mistake. So we saw another one of those tonight, which certainly does not look good. 2 hits and 3 at-bats, so that was good to see, but I'm not quite sure what to make of Kiermaier, of course. Hopefully he'll be better in the playoffs. I know that's a huge asset to have a Gold Glover, Platinum Glover, in fact, in center field. I'm not quite sure I can keep calling him a Platinum Glover if he keeps playing like this, but certainly a Gold Glove talent out there in center. So we'll obviously keep our eyes on that. And then again, it was more than 5 innings pitched, just 57 pitches. We'll go inning by inning breakdown here. Top of the first, the Rays threatened early, but no runs. They left a lot of meat on the bone, especially in the early goings, as Scherzer really struggled to get his footing. Meadows flew out, and then with 1 out, Brandon Lau gets a single that breaks an 0 for 22 streak. Of course, as part of that, it was a sacrifice fly that walked it off in the 10th inning of Sunday's contest. But certainly had not been hitting the ball well. Really went in a slump after, I believe, American Player of the Week honors he had received, and he was garnering some American League MVP talk. That's certainly out the window now after, in a 60-game season, you take 20 games off and really look bad. Obviously, that's going to take you out of the running. To be totally honest with you, I have no idea who would be in the running at this point for American League MVP. Judge, I know early was in that discussion, but he's been injured. And as soon as he came off, he went back on the injured list. I'm not going to rattle through the whole list of names. I guess Trout is always up there, but I don't know. Maybe just superstars haven't necessarily been performing this season. But Brandon Lau breaks an 0 for 22 stretch. That was the longest since in his rookie season. I believe he went 0 for his first 19 at bats. So Brandon Lau is familiar with this kind of thing, and hopefully the hit tonight was a sign of things to come. Obviously, or not obviously, but just a note that I want to throw out there: the Lightning are now at 4-1 in the over the Islanders midway through the second period. So the Lightning so dominant in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. We'll talk a little bit more puck later in the show. So it's Lau on with 1 out, then Wendell singles to put men at first and second with an out. Choi strikes out, and then Adames strikes out. So runner in scoring position with only 1 out, and your cleanup hitter and your best average hitter right now both strike out against Scherzer. So that was kind of a sign of things to come. Certainly, bottom of that inning, a 12-pitch 1-2-3 inning for Morton. Eaton, Turner, and Holt all retired. Eaton to lead off the game, a really good veteran hitter. Obviously, we saw him in the postseason last year for the World Series champs Nationals, striking out in 3 pitches, including, I believe, coming down to a knee on the third strike. So Morton really came out of the gate, throwing 95 on the fastball, and obviously that's really, I think, what's best to see from tonight's game. If you want to talk silver linings, that's where it is. Morton came off the injured list against the Yankees and was throwing 95 out of the gate. It tailored off a little bit in that contest, as it did tonight, but obviously much better than what we saw in the beginning of the year on opening night. For example, Morton, he said it himself, he wasn't quite ready to go, but he wanted to be there as the team's ace. After what he had done last year, done so much. He was throwing 92, 93, maxing out on the fastball. So it was good to see after the injured list in, I think a little bit longer maybe than as far as the injury needed to rehab, but he was able to really take some time and just prepare himself to be the best Morton he can be coming down the stretch, as really the Rays are going to need him much more in October than they are going to in August or September. So he was throwing 95 consistently. Again, it did taper off a little bit towards the end of the start, but that's to be expected as he is really not at full not at full strength is the wrong turn of phrase, but he's just not, I guess maybe it's a conditioning thing as he continues to get stretched out. I think he's completely healthy. The arm looks good. He keeps saying he's impressed with what he's been able to do. I keep refreshing the Mark Tompkins Twitter to see if we can get some Zoom Room quotes, but I haven't found any as of now. I'm not sure if he'll be one of the players that were interviewed. But again, 57 pitches efficient. I think we're seeing a little bit more of the Morton that we saw a year ago in 2019. So that's certainly good to see. Again, in the 5 innings in the loss, 12 pitches in the first inning. Top of the second, the Rays strand another 2 base runners as they did in the first. Yoshi flies out. Kevin Kiermaier with a double to get on Nate Lowe, a 4-pitch walks. And then Max Scherzer was getting really frustrated. There was some issues with the signs with the runners on base with catcher Kurt Suzuki. He was just furious on the mound. Really, things weren't going quite his way. He had allowed 4 base runners in 2 innings to that point. And then after that, it was Meadows putting a deep charge on a flyout into deep center, and it, of course, was caught, stayed in the park. I believe a deep outfield wall in Nationals Park. It's certainly not a hitter's stadium, and that left him stranded. And also there was a Kevin Smith struck out looking on a 3-2 count, so that was not good to see. Bottom of the second, the Nationals scratch out a run to make it 1-0. Kurt Suzuki flies out. Harrison with a 4-pitch walk. A right-handed hitter, the right-handed pitcher Morton, missed all of those away. So I'm not sure what was going into that. Also of note, Brian Anderson, I'll give him credit, the color man on the telecast for Fox Sports Sun, made a point about his curveballs, how they weren't really sweeping across the plate as they tend to do. Obviously, that's one of the best pitches, I would say, really in the majors is Charlie Morton's curveball, and it makes a lot of hitters look silly, and he did have some with bite. I noticed in his first out against the Yankees, the curveball looked very good. Not quite as good tonight. I'm not sure what to pin that up to. I'm not going to make, kind of a final, statement and say that, he's not ready. I'm interested to see his next start, in about 4 days to see where he's at. But the curveball was just kind of laying it over the plate. So it's a 77-mile-an-hour pitch, and if it doesn't break that much and it's getting the plate, obviously the Nationals are going to be able to turn on it. Not a lot of hard contact, but they did nick him up for 4 hits. So that they were able to get to him again. The curveball, not the best. So Harrison 4-pitch walk. That was his only walk, and then he really just cleaned it up after that. 57 pitches, 45 for strikes. So the control was certainly there. Thames reaches on an error. That was the Kevin Kiermaier blunder. It was in center field, just kind of got turned around. You see it all the time with defensive backs. I was a high school football player. I did some drills with the linebackers and defensive backs to make it into a football analogy. When you're backpedaling, basically like Kiermaier was, he turned over the wrong shoulder as far as to get an angle at the ball, and he ended up just kind of twisting himself around and couldn't make a play at the ball. It kind of bounced out of his glove, and it was Thames probably could have gotten the second if he had run it out, to be honest with you. He only gets to first, and the runner, Harrison, can only get to third. He could have gotten home if he had read it right. So there's runners at the corners with only one out. So Morton in a bit of a jam there in a scoreless game. And then it was Keyboom, a sack, ground as I call it. It was a fielder's choice on a double play ball. He was barely safe, gets the toe right on the first base, bagged the toe with the cleat. So that would have ended the inning scoreless, but Keyboom was able to run it out. I just wanted to throw this out there as well. I don't know exactly. In the Navy BYU game, the BYU, by the way, 5 minutes away from halftime, is up 24-0. Completely empty crowd in the Navy Stadium, but there's a single guy in the white uniform, the white Navy kind of like sailor get up. Obviously not a costume. I mean, it's his Navy uniform, and it was a cutaway to him, a zoom in, and he's like the only person in the stands at all, and he's just looking out onto his midshipmen that are down 24-0. So that's an interesting side in what's going to be certainly a very strange college football season. But back to baseball. Again, Kiyboom with the fielder's choice to ground in the first run of the game, and then Morton gets Taylor to ground out to end the inning. So at the end of 2, it is 1-0 Nationals. Top of the third, the Rays went 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position once again, as they did in the first. Brandon Lau strikes out. Wendell gets an infield single and then steals a base. That was his 4th stolen base of the year to get a man in scoring position. Choi flies out and Adames flies out. So that's the same exact situation. Both Choi and Adames are quartered out with runners in scoring position. So that's not good to see in the top of the lineup. Certainly, I've never really liked Choi in the cleanup spot. I know he's hit well at times. The homer off of Garrett Cole, that's kind of what people like to remember. But G-Man Choi, I'm not sure that batting average. I could probably dig it up maybe for tomorrow's show, or during the break. But he's not hit well in the cleanup spot, and he did not hit well there tonight again, going 0 for 4. So then we head to the bottom of the third. That was after the Rays stranded him. Wendell at second. That would have been the tying run. Morton was hit around at the end of 3, was up to 43 pitches, so it was unknown how much longer he was really going to be able to go. Robles with a leadoff double. It was a pretty good hit with a 9-man. Eaton flies out. Robles tags up to third, so they get a man 90 feet away with less than 2 outs. Trey Turner, an RBI single, makes it 2-0 Nationals. Holt flies out. Meadows makes a diving catch, kind of goes feet first. So that was certainly a cool thing to see. Suzuki on an 0-2 count hits an RBI double to make it 3-0, and then Harrison flies out to end the inning. So the Nationals were able to get contact off of Morton. I'm not sure if it was that inning, but they were able to certainly hit his curveball tonight. That was you can't doubt, you can't question that they were hitting it. Top of the 4th, Kevin Kiermaier single. That's it. Bottom of that inning, a 1-2-3 inning for what I thought would be Morton's final inning of work. He gets Thames, Keyboom, and Taylor. He was throwing 93 on the fastball in that inning after throwing 95 in the first. So again, the fastball was coming down a little bit in the 4th. Top, and that was with only about 40, 50 pitches. Top of the 5th, 1-2-3 hitters for the Rays. Seeing Scherzer a third time through, I'd mark that down specifically because I said if the Rays are going to score some runs, this is probably one of their best chances to do it. Again, theoretically the 3 best hitters in your lineup, as the stat, seeing a starting pitcher a third time through, they really cannot do anything with it at all. It was Meadows flying out, Lau flies out, and Wendell strikes out. So that kind of set the tone for the rest of the night. Morton's last inning of work in the bottom of the 5th is his best, throwing about 92, 93 on the fastball. Gets the 9-man Robles to ground out, so you'd think maybe they were going to pull him after getting that first out. He got the up in the 5th inning, and maybe they pull him. No, they let him finish, and he was very efficient, threw less than 10 pitches, got Eaton to pop out, and Turner to strike out. So that was good to see him have some success late in the start against the top 2 hitters. So a lot to take away from Morton's start, most of them good. So again, his line finishes at 5 innings pitched, 3 earned runs on 4 hits. Walks alone, man. It was a 4-pitch walk, and he missed all 4 pitches away from a righty, but pretty much cleaned it up after that. 3 strikeouts, 57 pitches, 45 of which were for strikes. So the control is there. The velocity for the most part is there. So I think the only thing really that, I or Kevin Cash, Kyle Snyder would want to see is, just getting him more stretched out. It may not be possible, in all honesty, for him to be able to throw 95 throughout the start. He may just not have it in him anymore. He may just only be able to get it for the first 3 or 4 innings. But I'd like, obviously, to see him continue to stretch out. If the efficiency can stay there, I mean, this is a guy that can throw 6 or 7 innings in a crucial start, which is going to be huge. So, hopefully he can continue a good start tonight, even in a loss. Top of the 6th, Max Scherzer gets through a 6th inning. Choi, Adames, and Yoshi all are retired by Scherzer, and he was really rolling at that point. He would pitch another inning. Bottom of the 6th, Richards blows the game open. They go for a tandem start, basically, to save the bullpen, and they were down 3-0 at that point. So you see the logic, save the pen. In September, having the bullpen fresh for October is more important than winning in September. That'll be my slogan that I'll use. So they have Trevor Richards to get the final 3 innings of work. They only had to cover 8, obviously, as it's a loss on the road. And he just did not look good at all. Holt doubles. Suzuki on a check swing singles, 1st and 3rd with nobody out. Harrison RBI single, drive in a run. Thames, the fielder's choice. It's runners at the corners with 1 out, so double play potential, but then Harrison steals 2nd. Keyboom with a walk, loads the bases, and then Michael A. Taylor, a 2 RBI single that makes it 6-0 Nats, and that was pretty much it at that point. They had some men left on base still, but it was Robles and Eaton retired by Trevor Richards. So really, I mean, that was the game right there. I know that's not how the stat works, but if you want to put a loss, pin it on Richards. But it was Morton catching it tonight. Morton, by the way, is 1-2 for what it's worth, but I don't take too much stock in that, obviously. Top of the 7th we go. It was Mad Max with 7 innings of shutout work. Kevin Kiermaier grounds out. Nate Lowe strikes out. Kevin Smith hits a double to make it interesting, but then Scherzer slams the door shut with a strikeout of Meadows. He finishes 7 innings pitched, no earned runs on 6 hits, walks just 1 man, strikes out 8. 104 pitches, 70 of which were for strikes. Pretty good with the first pitch strikes, too, 18 of 28. I mean, he's a guy, even at his a little bit of advanced age, goes more than 100 pitches in every start. I mean, right out of the gate. He's a guy that'll give you 6 or 7 innings pretty much every start. And they mentioned it on the radio broadcast, and I can't dispute it, that Max Scherzer being the best free agent signing pitcher of all time. Obviously, the Nationals winning the World Series last year probably solidified that. He started in Game 7, but really was crucial all the way through October for them. And again, a really good start tonight. We haven't faced him since 2018, and he looked pretty good against the Rays then as well. So fitting that he goes 7 innings and gets the win. He advances to 4-2 for a last-place Nationals team that looks like they're probably going nowhere, to be honest with you. But Scherzer throwing his best stuff at the Rays tonight. Bottom of the 7th, double play ball keeps the inning scoreless. Some defensive changes. Brett Phillips comes in to play center for Kiermaier. Rosarena comes in the outfield. They shifted it around a little bit. Brandon Lau comes out of the game. I believe it was Meadows moving over to right, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, they made a clean switch. It was a Rosarena in right, which he hasn't played yet. So good to get him some time over there in the right corner. And I think he looked pretty good out there, as he has in the outfield pretty much so far this season. And by the way, it looks like coming towards halftime, it's BYU up 24-0 on Navy. So the Cougars are really putting the hurting on the midshipmen in the first game for both of those teams. Navy, hasn't been able to get anything going. Kevin Cash said that, it was Kevin Kiermaier and Brandon Lau coming out of the game just to get them off their feet. It makes sense. The Rays pretty much, as I said, have the playoffs locked up, and the wins in September aren't necessarily significant. So you get the guys off the feet, and get guys good at bats. I mean, Arozarena is a guy that really needs to be seeing some time, and also a power play goal for the Lightning. They are now up 5-1 in the second period. With about 7 minutes left to play. So they are really putting hurt on the Islanders in Game 1. They have looked absolutely spectacular all the way through. So that's good to see as well, certainly. And then the other move, Brett Phillips, just getting him some time in center. He got an at-bat. I want to say his first at-bat, but I can't confirm that. He goes 0 for 1 with a strikeout. So that is what it is. Looked fine in center. I don't know if he got any plays out there, to be honest. And in the bottom of the seventh, it was Trevor Richards still in there. Turner gets out, Holt a single, Suzuki a single, and then Harrison a double play ball to retire the side. Top of the eighth, the Rays break the shutout with Scherzer coming out. Rainey in. We gave you Scherzer's line already. Arozarena hits a home run to make it 6-1. It was a towering blast. Let's get the distance. It was only 378 feet to left, but really it got out of there in the hurry. The exit velo was certainly on there. So Arozarena is red hot. He's hitting .471, although in limited at-bats. He had 2 home runs on Sunday. I believe that was his 4th homer of the year. So really, I was talking about this this weekend as I was watching the game. This is as close, I think, to a 5-tool player that the Rays have had in quite some time. The 5 tools, if you're not familiar, I don't know if it's a specific order, but it's speed, fielding, throwing, and then hitting for power and hitting for average. So obviously a good defender. He's got the fielding, and I believe it's a decent arm. I don't think maybe a plus arm, but an average arm. So maybe not necessarily a tool, but he's got the fielding down. The speed, certainly on the base pass and in the outfield. The fielding is good, and he's been hitting for average and for power at the home run. So a really balanced player, and obviously that was the key piece in that Matthew Liberatore trade. Liberatore, a former first-round pick of the Rays and a top pitching prospect. I think the meaning behind that trade, the Rays are over-flooded with pitching prospects, especially of the starter variety, as Liberatore was. I mean, you think Shane Baz, I think Shane McClanahan is going to be a starter. I mean, Brent Honeywell. They've got guys, obviously, Josh Fleming, who graduated basically to the majors this year and has looked good. So they've got plenty of starting pitching. The position players, not so much, and those are harder to come by. I would say as far as prospects go, there's a ton of arms, but as far as really good position players, they're a little bit harder to get. And the Rays make that move. They get Jose Martinez in that deal as well, who they flipped to the Cubs for a couple of players to be named later. So we'll see who they are. And, 2 players they didn't have is better than nothing. And, if the Rays make a move, there's some value in there that they like. So, with the way Randy Arozarena is looking, that was, as I said when he came up, one of the worst kept secrets as far as the Rays. Not that they were trying to keep it, but basically that just he was knocking the crap out of the baseball, not just in spring training, but in the alternate side at Port Charlotte, and he's major league ready, and we're seeing that right now. I'm not going to say slump-proof because we haven't seen him enough, but I mean, really, he can contribute something to the game every night. If it's not with the bat, it's with the glove or on the base path. So obviously he comes in a pinch hit situation or a defensive sub situation and gets a home run to break the shutout. So that was certainly nice to see. Anything else there? It was Choi out and Adama strikes out. And in the bottom of the eighth, it was Richards getting a quiet 1-2-3 inning. And in the top of the ninth, the Rays were able to make it interesting. Will Harris comes on, the former Houston Astro. He gave up, I believe he took the loss in Game 7 of the World Series, giving up that home run to Howie Kendrick. But and coincidentally enough, he now pitches with the Nationals, which I just think is funny that you beat him in a World Series game, and in free agency you want to sign him to your club. But Will Harris comes on, Yoshi flies out, Phillips strikes out. So you think, this is gonna be a quick inning. No, Nate Lowe getting his first hit this year gets a double. Kevin Smith walks, Meadows walks to load the bases. They take out Will Harris because at that point you have the tying run on deck, and Grand Slam would make it a 1-run game. Obviously, Daniel Hudson, who closed out that Game 7, comes in to strike out Arozarena. So you're really thinking, who would be surprised if Arozarena hit a Grand Slam and made it 6-5? But he struck out there. I believe swung through a fastball for strike 3. So they not able to come back, but better than nothing, as they've made a threat at the game. Really over the 3 games over the course of the weekend as well. But that's about it. And again, as far as takeaways, I'll give you 2 right now. Well, maybe 2.5, 3 takeaways. Charlie Morton's start, he looks good. 5 innings pitched and 57 pitches. The efficiency was there. He's getting stretched back out. The curveball not as good, so I'm hoping he'll get that turned back around next start, as it's now BYU 31-0 over Navy going into halftime. And also, Richards comes in and gets 3 innings of work, gives up 300 runs and put the game out of reach, but it saves the bullpen. I'm not sure who we'll see tomorrow. I know Nick Anderson was warming up for a potential bottom of the 9th, but there was none to play. And then hitting a guy really in slumps. Brandon Lau hopefully will get out of it. Austin Meadows is doing bad right now. Adames looks like he's headed that way. Setsugo is under the Mendoza line. Nate Lowe has not looked good since coming up just 083. Got his first hit tonight. And then Kevin Smith added in a hit, so that was kind of good to see from him. And Randy Arozarena gets another home run, even though he didn't start the game. And then another thing, just, continue. If they lose in the playoffs, I guarantee this is going to be the reason why. 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. 10 men left on base. This is not an issue of the Rays not being able to get men on. Even the guys that are slumping, they've reached on the walk. I know they had only got 3 tonight, but, they're one of the top teams in the majors as far as reaching via the walk. And they have probably more base runners than anyone, and they just don't do anything with them. They get men on, including in scoring position routinely, and just spit at the opportunity again. 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position, 10 men left on base. That's really all I have to say about the game tonight. We're going to take a break here, give you the baseball scores. If you want to call the show and talk Rays or talk Lightning or even maybe some Bucks or some Florida State football, we've got that all on the docket in the final 20 minutes of the program. Number to call 877-566-1020. We're going to take a sports update, give you some baseball scores, and we'll be right back. HBC. A handful of games that have gone final. It's the Indians 5-2 over the Royals. Zach Plesac gets the win. He's 3-1 with a 1.32 ERA. Also Brad Hand with his 12th save. The Nationals 6-1 over the Rays. The Mariners 8, Rangers 4. As the Mariners are making a comeback into this. They're just now 3 games under 500. It's the Cubs 5-1 over the Cardinals. The Twins 6, Tigers 2. In 10 innings, it's the Phillies winning on the road 9-8 over the Mets. New reliever Brandon Workman gets the win. Also in 10 innings, the Marlins, another road team, extra inning win. The Marlins 5-4 over the Braves. Miami gets back to 500 at 18-18. And current action, this game has gone back and forth quite a bit. In the 6th, it is now the Blue Jays up 8-6 over the New York Yankees. Also in the 6th, the Diamondbacks 1, Giants nothing. Some games on the West Coast in the 2nd inning, Astros and Athletics scoreless. And in the 2nd, a scoreless game between the Rockies and Padres.
Hey, sports fans! William's currently in the can, but he'll be right back. We're currently on a commercial break, so don't touch that dial. Remember, you can call us at 352-639-0036 or drop us a line on Twitter at WHBC Stream to tell us what's on your mind. We want to talk sports. We want to get unruly. We want you to tell us what you think so we can argue. Anyway, when all that's said and done, please stay tuned for William's world-famous Around the XFL podcast and other projects that he's currently got in the works. Please visit WHBCstream.com, and thanks again for listening in.
HBC. And at 9:41, we are back on the William Haynes Show. Final 20 minutes of the program. If you want to call in, the number to do so, 877-566-1020. And the move to have Richards pitch the final 3 innings of tonight's game suddenly makes a little bit more sense. Now for Mark Tompkins, just a few minutes ago on Twitter, the Rays optioned Trevor Richards to the alternate site in Port Charlotte to clear a spot to activate Ryan Yarbrough for his start tomorrow. So I had mentioned maybe, guys in the bullpen that they would send down as far as to bring Oliver Drake up. They're going to have to make that move later. So now Richards, who has been kind of the 5th starter, he goes out, and now Yarbrough in. So now you have a full 5-man rotation for the first time since really the beginning of the season. Obviously, Morton missed some time, and he's back now. Chirinos is out for the year, but he's been replaced, and how, by Josh Fleming, who's 3-0 in 3 starts. So now I would say if you had to kind of structure it, maybe let's say for the playoffs, I would go probably Glasnow, Snell, Morton, Fleming, and Yarbrough. I wouldn't put Yarbrough 5th, but I just named him 5th. 5 good starters now, so it makes sense that Richards would go back. He's performed admirably, did not look good tonight, which made it all that easier to send him down, but has really performed well as an emergency 5th starter. And I think maybe, I'm not sure what his future is with the Rays, but his legacy will certainly be just kind of a nice starting pitching bulk inning relief piece as kind of the second fiddle in the Nick Anderson trade when they acquired both Richards and Nick Anderson from the Miami Marlins a season ago in exchange for just Ryan Stanek and Jesus Sanchez. Neither of those players have been good for the Marlins, and both Richards and really more so Nick Anderson has been lights out for the Rays. Nick Anderson lights out, not so much Richards. So Richards is down. Yarbrough up for his start tomorrow against Anibal Sanchez. So good to see Yarbrough just miss his start as we suspected. That way you can kind of line out the 10-day IL and it works out that way. So we basically closed the books on tonight's 6-1 loss to the Nationals, and now I just wanted to spend a little bit of time going over the games that I missed over the course of the weekend. 3 games in a set against the Miami Marlins. Also a note, I saw this somewhere, the Rays have not lost back-to-back games since August 2nd, so you'd think they would probably end up with a pretty good chance to win against the Nationals team that's 10 games under 500, but we'll have to wait and see about 20 or so hours from now. But again, Friday and Friday's game, it was the Rays 5-4 over the Marlins. Fleming gets to 3-0, kind of a strange start for him. He goes 5 innings pitched, 4 earned runs on 7 hits, gives up 2 solo home runs, 73 pitches, 45 for strikes. So not efficient at all, but only throws 73 pitches and gets to 5 innings. So I guess they're kind of committed to not bringing him too deep into a ball game. They want to get his kind of feet wet. He's now 3-0 in 3 starts. And then it was Thompson, Fairbanks, Castillo, Anderson combined for 4 innings pitched of just 1 hit and obviously no earned runs. So that was really cool to see the bullpen. Nick Anderson came back. His first game off the IL looked a little bit hairy. He walked a man, I believe the leadoff man, and then a guy reached on an error. It was a double play ball that just somehow, Adames couldn't make a play on it, so it's meant at first and second instead of, I think, the game maybe being over. I don't know exactly. And then Wendell made a diving play at third, but that ball could have easily gotten past him and brought in a run for the Marlins. So Nick Anderson catches a break, including against the final batter of the game, the final out, Birdie. I believe it was a full count, and a right-handed hitter, right-handed pitcher, Anderson, and that pitch on a 3-2 count was a baseball or 2 off the plate, and the home plate ump rings him up. So the Marlins catch a tough break there with a man on scoring position. So the Rays, by the hair of their chin, win by a score of 5-4. Other takeaways, it was Yoshi with the home run, 406 to center. So that was nice to see. I believe his 4th or 5th of the year, if I'm not mistaken. And then the Rays do some damage finally with the bases loaded. I've been making some comments how bad they have been in that regard, but they finally do some damage. It was Kiermaier walking with the bases loaded, obviously, to walk in a run, and then in that inning with the bases juiced, up comes Michael Perez with a bases clearing double. That was the game-winning hit, and I had mentioned, I believe, on Twitter at WHBC Stream, that was the fourth game-winning hit from Michael Perez this year. I'll name it for you right now, the first of which, the 1-0 game against the Yankees, in the first meeting between those two clubs. It was a sacrifice fly, obviously in that 1-0 win, I believe off of Zach Britton. And then on that Sunday contest in that same series, he walked it off on a base hit against Zach Britton, I believe, again. So there's two right there. And then the Orioles, when they played him in the Tropicana Field, it was a solo home run in the tie game, I believe, in the 8th inning. So that helped. Certainly the bullpen that not have to go into extras. And that ended up being the game-winning run. And then on Friday, the bases clearing double in the 4th, and the Rays never looked back. They gave up a couple of runs after that. The charge to Josh Fleming, but the bullpen lockdown again. Thompson, scoreless inning. Fairbanks, scoreless inning. Castillo, scoreless inning. And Nick Anderson, in a scoreless inning, picks up his 4th save of the year. Choi led off and went 0 for 4. Lau 0 for 4 as part of his slump. Tsutsugo 2 for 2 with 2 walks, so that was a good game for him. Adames 0 for 4, Margot 0 for 3. I mean, just guys are not doing well right now. Saturday's 7-3 loss, certainly not as good. 6 0-fers, again, as I said, 0 for 5 or 0 for 4, you get the idea. It was Wendell, Brandon Lau, Austin Meadows, Nate Lowe, Yoshi, and Kiermaier all not recording a hit, even though they started and got a full game's worth of at-bats. Randy Arozarena, he went 2 for 2 as a replacement in the outfield. So, good to see him continue his ways. Snell got the start. He had a rough 4 innings in which he gave up 4 earned runs. Really, a couple straight starts had been disappointing for Snell. 5 innings pitched, 92 pitches. Can't go any deeper in a ballgame. I mean, he's been talking about going 7 or 8 innings, and he just has not been able to do that. 2 innings of 2-run ball from Sleggers. 2/3 of Reed. He gets the blister on the pinky, I believe, in an inning and a third from Aaron Loop. So, the bullpen, fine. It was Blake Snell recording the loss, his first of the season. Not great. Obviously, 7-3 game. What is it already? The Dolphins and Bucks get together? No, it was a baseball game. And the Rays, just kind of a boring game. The Rays didn't score until the 5th, and then they tacked on one in the 9th as they kind of threatened a little bit, but couldn't come back. Sandy Alcantara, who they beat around the last time around, he gets 6 innings, a 1-run ball, and records a win. So he gets his revenge against the Rays, but not really much else to say in that department. The final game of the weekend and closing the season series against the Marlins, the Rays win 5-4 in 10 innings, just as they did on Friday. The same score, 5-4. That also clinched a 5-1 season series victory over the Marlins as they continue their dominance. I believe it was like a 15 or something game win streak over Miami, so they can't continue that, but dominated the Fish once again. Taylor Rogers in his first start for the Marlins goes 6 innings, 3 runs, 10 strikeouts, and then up against Glasnow, who we found out after the game was pitching through a migraine, couldn't really see as well, just wasn't feeling himself. You could tell he was frustrated on the mound, certainly, and he did not look great. 5 1/3, 3 earned runs, walks 3 as well, gives up a home run. The first pitch strike department, 12 for 23. I wanted to pull up Blake Snell's because I know he's really struggled with that, and I closed the tab, of course, for Blake Snell in that start on Saturday. He faced 24 batters and threw a first pitch strike to 21 of them. So did better in that department, but didn't really make much of a difference, to be completely honest with you. But again, Sunday's 5-4 win. The Rays get out hit again, 8-6, and still win the ball game. Arozarena bursting onto the scene, his first multi-home run game of his career as he continues a red hot start with the Tampa Bay Rays. The Glasnow migraine game, Loop, Fairbanks, Castillo, John Curtis combined for 4 2/3 of no-run ball. So the bullpen in this series really carried this team, I would say, as the offense did not do too well, but hit when it counts. They were 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position with only 3 left on base. It was John Curtis gets the win in extras. He gives up the inherited runner, but then the Rays put up 2 to walk it off in the 10th. In the 10th, it was Choi pinch hitting, hits the game-tying double, I believe, with Wendell on second. And then Brett Phillips pinch runs for Choi. He represents the game-winning run with nobody out at second. So pretty much a single would win it. Michael Perez with a deep flyout, and probably most other parks it could have been a home run, but it's a flyout. Brett Phillips smart gets to third with only 1 out, so the sacrifice is in play. Kevin Kiermaier pinch hits and he walks to set up the double play potential. So some real strategy. Do they try and steal him with 1 out? But that would, you take the risk there. But they don't do anything with that because up comes Brandon Lau, who was probably, in an 0 for 18, 0 for 19 stretch, and he hits the sacrifice fly to walk things off. The walk-off sac fly, nothing better. It's weird to see, because Starling Marte makes the running catch in center field and doesn't even try to throw it. Not often do you see a guy catch a ball in center field and be upset about it, but that was Starling Marte, and kind of a cool sight. One of the weird kind of cool things in baseball. Only good when it happens for your team and not against them, but good to see it go in the Rays' favor as they win 5-4 in 10 innings. Again, win the season series 5-1 over the Fish, and continued their winning ways. I just want to check in with the Yankee game over the Blue Jays. The first meeting, it was Hyun-Jin Ryu. The Yankees got to him a little bit. I just want to pop open, oh my goodness, in the bottom of the 6th in Buffalo, Blue Jays 12, Yankees 6. It's weird. If you had to say in the playoffs, you'd probably rather face the Yankees because of what the Rays have done against them. The Blue Jays have really kind of had the Rays number in some ways. But nothing would make a Rays fan happier, myself included, than seeing the Yankees somehow miss the postseason, in which I think more teams make it than not. Jordan Montgomery gets to start. Couldn't get out of the first inning his last time out against the Rays. He gets through 3 1/3. Hyun-Jin Ryu, 5 innings, a 5-run ball. The Blue Jays are really pouring it on. Ottavino can't get anybody out and gives up 6 earned runs, an ERA of almost 8 now. Yikes. Chad Green can just get an out and gives up 3 earned runs. So the bullpen, the New York Yankees bullpen that's been so good, where are they now? With the loss tonight, can you believe it? The Yankees would just be 1 game above 500 at 21-20. I remember a time, final 7 minutes of the program, number to call 877-566-1020. I remember a time earlier this season when the Yankees had the best record in the American League, and everyone, more so on New York radio, was basically saying, the Yankees are going to make the playoffs no matter what. It's about keeping everybody healthy, which, not necessarily wrong about that, but, that they were a lock to make the playoffs, and here they are now. 3rd in the division. I believe the Blue Jays will have a 2-game lead on them if they can hold on. They have a 6-run lead with 9 outs left to get, so not a guarantee. But the Blue Jays bullpen is not bad. They've made some additions at the deadline. So it may be, the Yankees to be the 8th seed out of 8 playoff spots, and that would probably put them against the Rays in the first round. So, who knows? Now, honestly, at this point, let me pull open the standings as far as the wild card goes, because the Blue Jays very well may get second place in the East. For the wild card spots, it would be between the Yankees, the Orioles, who are 2 games back in New York, and probably Detroit, who I think would probably be about 3 games back in New York. So the Yankees, ESPN has them at a 92% chance to make the playoffs. They probably still will, but they are on a skid. Lost 3 straight, 4-6 in their last 10. The Detroit Tigers, who are awful, and the Baltimore Orioles, who are awful. In a regular season, we had anticipated that they would have lost 100-plus games, and here they are, just a couple of games back of the New York Yankees for a playoff spot a week into September. So crazy things happening this year. And even the Mariners, honestly, to an extent, I believe they, as far as winning percentage, they might be like half a game up on the Tigers at 19-22. So, hey, if the Mariners go on a little bit of a run, they can snap the longest playoff drought in professional sports. They have not qualified for the postseason since 2001 when they won, I think, 116 games and only won a single playoff series, I believe. Lost in the ALCS to Cleveland. So, honestly, what better story for a baseball fan for the Mariners maybe to snap that drought in an expanded playoffs? So, obviously, an asterisk to that. of course, but a playoff berth nonetheless, and the Yankees missing it. Oh, would it be so sweet? But we'll have to wait and see. And the reason I say for this, the second wild card is the American League East, or the American League Central, excuse me, is going to have the first wild card. There's 3 teams in that division that are like 9-10 games above 500. And one of them is going to get the wild card, and that would leave the other one to be a 500 club. It's down to the Yankees, the Orioles, the Tigers, and the Mariners, and there was about 3 or 4 games separating them. So that's going to be a big storyline to kind of follow as we go down to the stretch. And the National League is pretty much, I don't know, National League East. The Braves will win that division, and who gets the second place? Will it be the Phillies, the Marlins, or the Mets? I would say the Nats are probably out of it, but after last season, who knows? In the Central, it's the Cubs. They're going to probably win it at 24-18, but it's race for second place, I would say. The Reds, who are expected to maybe make a run at the NL pennant, they're 18-23 and in fourth place. The Cardinals 17-16, the Brewers at 18-21. So the Cubs are going to win that division, I would say, and then it's a 3-team race between the Cardinals, the Brewers, and the Reds for second place. But with the records, who knows where the wild cards are going to come from in the West? The Dodgers pretty much probably got this thing clinched up, 30-12 in the National League West. The Padres, a good record, but they're 5 games back at 25-17. They're going to make the playoffs. And then maybe both wild cards could come out of the West if things break a certain way. It's the Rockies at 20-20 and the Giants at 20-21. I believe they would both have playoff spots if the season ended today. So it would just be 2 teams in both the East and the Central in the National League, with maybe 4. What a year when 4 out of 5 teams in the National League West could very well make the playoffs. And I had anticipated that probably being the weakest, one of the weakest divisions in baseball. But boy, was I wrong on that. The Cardinals and Giants hanging on for dear life. They both are 5-5 in their last 10, which makes sense for 500 clubs. The Rockies have a negative 35 run differential and sit at 20-20. So who knows? I believe they still have Charlie Blackmon hitting 350 or 400 or something like that. So who really knows with that? And then to wrap up the show, we'll preview tomorrow's game. Ryan Yarbrough against Anibal Sanchez, the lefty Yarbrough coming off the IL, the righty Anibal Sanchez going for the Nats. We look at Ryan Yarbrough's last start. He came out a little bit early, went 6 2/3, and only 80 pitches. So he could have. That's a complete game watch potentially. And he comes out with the left groin issue. I believe they had admitted that it had been bothering him for quite some time, and he just said it was irritating him, and he didn't want it to further, mess up. So he comes out of the game again 6 2/3, no earned runs on 4 hits, no walks, 5 strikeouts. So he was really lighting it up his last time out. So obviously missing a turn through the rotation, he's not going to. And with Seth mentioned this and made a good point last week, basically saying that this is not an upper body injury. It's not an elbow, a shoulder, anything like that. It's a groin issue, so he could probably still be throwing. I would anticipate, unless the groin flares up, that he could be making a run for 6 innings. I don't think they would let him into the 7th unless the pitch count is such, but I could be wrong. I don't really know, but I'd imagine probably 6 innings of 2-run balls, probably how I would predict Yarbrough tomorrow against not a great Nationals team. And then Ryan Yarbrough stats on the year, he is 0-2 with a 3.65 ERA. So hasn't gotten a win, but he's pitched well in 37 innings. And then Anibal Sanchez 1-4 with a 6.48 ERA. So he has certainly not been as good this year. We go to his last time out, and he has obviously not faced the Rays this season. In his last start against the Philadelphia Phillies, he goes 3 1/3, gives up an earned run, 4 unearned on 8 hits, a walk, a strikeout. 74 pitches. The most he's thrown at a start is 99, but after that 92, 85, and 74. So who knows? A guy that the Rays could probably get to, a righty. They're good against right-handed starters this year. Really hard to predict the way they're going to line it up. Heavy lefties, I would imagine, again, as they did today. Michael Perez would probably catch to mix things up with Kevin Smith. All right, so outfield from left to right, I would go Meadows in left, Let's keep him on. Kiermaier in center. And then if they want to go Brandon Lau in right again, but I doubt that they're going to do that again. They'll probably put Renfroe in right, even though he's not as good against righties. And then in the infield from left to right, I'm probably looking at maybe another Yoshi start at third or Wendell. Okay, let's go Wendell at third base, Adames at short, Brandon Lau at second. And that would put Ji-Man Choi probably at first base, Michael Perez to catch for the lefty Ryan Yarbrough. So that's how I would anticipate things to line up. Finally got a show that kind of lined up right where we wanted to as we're going to go ahead and head off the air. I wanted to thank everyone who tuned into tonight's program. I know it was a little bit sporadic coming off a 3-day weekend. I had to shake off the rust a little bit, as Yarbrough will have to do tomorrow. But I thought it was a good show. There's a lot of sports to talk about, a lot of stuff to catch up on. We'll be on tomorrow, probably at about 9 o'clock or so. The Nats and Rays get going at 6, so we'll be on at 9 or right after the game, basically. So stay tuned to WHBC stream on Twitter for all of that. Football coming up. We'll talk about that over the course of the week. The Lightning are going to win Game 1, hopefully, so that'll work out. And as always, we will talk to you tomorrow.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM and Sports Radio 66. The Fan.
HBC.
W